There's a man in our midst who, when he watches television, sees more than the rest of us. While we're seeing Hill Street Blues or Masterpiece Theater, Joshua Meyrowitz is seeing the reshaping of our society. Barbara Coles has the story.
Say, kids, what time is it?
We didn't know it then, but Howdy Doody time back in the 50s was also the time when massive social change would begin. Those kids sitting in the peanut gallery would spark the revolution of the 1960s, radically altering our behavior and our institutions. The seeds planted by the new medium of television would sprout quickly, wrapping their tendrils around the family, the workplace, politics. Few aspects of our lives would remain untouched. Marshall McLuhan, writing in the early 60s, foresaw many of these social changes, but he didn't explain how they would happen. It was, in part, this man's frustration with McLuhan that yielded a new book, a book that addresses the questions McLuhan left unanswered. At least that's what the critics are saying about Joshua Meyrowitz's book, No Sense of Place.
I think for the first time in human civilization, we no longer really live in physical places anymore, in the sense that the more we've come to rely on televisions and telephones and radios and computers, the less there's a relationship between where we are and what we know and experience, the less there's a relationship between where we are and how we behave, the less there's a relationship then between where we are and who we are.
Meyrowitz, an associate professor at the University of New Hampshire, says we now live in a nowhere land. Our experiences used to be confined to our homes, our towns. Now, thanks to mass communication, the world is our arena and our home. Meyrowitz hopes his book will make us think about what it means to be living in this environment.
I guess what I'd like is for the book to give us, in a sense, a greater control over our destiny. And that by showing how the technologies that we create often recreate us.
Among the ways we've been recreated, he says, is how we relate to politicians. Before television, politicians were seen from a distance. Thus, the ideal candidates were tall like Washington and Lincoln. But up close, voters would have seen Washington as ugly, Lincoln with a high, thin voice.
To be a great leader, you need to have distance and mystery. You have to be far away from people. There's a saying that no man is a hero to his valet. And I think what's happened to us in our society today is that with television, we watch our leaders so closely and so constantly that we've all become their valets.
We see Nancy Reagan stumble and stumble. We see Lyndon Johnson scar, Jimmy Carter collapsing. No longer in awe of our leaders, Meyrowitz says we need candidates that can withstand the intimacy of television. A Reagan, not a Mondale.
As soon as the cameras went on, everybody I was watching the debate with went, ooh, he's lost the debate. I mean, that was basically it. How could you vote for somebody who looked so tired just preparing for a debate? What would he do in a nuclear crisis?
It's not just the voters that are more critical, so are our children. That, says Meyrowitz, is thanks to early TV shows like Father Knows Best and Trouble with Father.
Hi, Pop.
A surprise for your mother.
This house is full of surprises.
I wonder where I can hide it until after dinner.
I always hide things under my mattress.
I'll find my own hiding place.
But, says Meyrowitz, there was no hiding place once TV cameras brought family life into our homes. Kids looking at these shows learned adult secrets. Secrets like parents aren't always sure how to handle things. That information meant kids were no longer in awe of mom and dad. Before television, children gained access to information by reading, and that was limited by their reading ability. The adult world was beyond their reach. Not so with TV. Kids now see presidents resign, foreign leaders assassinated. Not to mention exposure to sex, suicide, rape, and advertisements for the most personal of products. We've come a long way since the days of Arthur Godfrey, and, says Meyrowitz, there are few taboos left.
It used to be that within the home, parents controlled almost all the information that children had about the outside world, that they would only read to children or talk to children about those parts of the culture they wanted the children to know about. Part of what television has done is it's almost like a new doorway or a new window to the home where it takes children across the globe even before they have permission to cross the street.
Thus, he says, the efforts to improve children's programming is probably futile because all programming has become children's programming. Their separation from society has ended, as it has for women.
I think if you look historically, the separation of men and women was based to a large degree on physically separating men and women, especially since the Industrial Revolution when the workplace was separated from the home. And there were two spheres of culture, the women's sphere and the men's sphere, and women were not supposed to know about the public life, politics and sports and war. Those were male domains.
But television shows like this one early on revealed that domain. And women learning men's secrets, Meyrowitz says, helped set the stage for the feminist movement. Whether these far-reaching changes spawned by television are good or bad, Meyrowitz says it's too early to judge. He's learned a lesson from Socrates, who saw the invention of writing as a threat to the institutions of his day, and yet, says Meyrowitz, it led to new bodies of knowledge like philosophy and science. Today, our institutions are besieged by television, but Meyrowitz is convinced that just as it did in Socrates' time, the massive social change we're experiencing will have a happy ending.
I knew it all the time! Oh, Pancho! Oh, Cisco!
For New Hampshire Journal, I'm Barbara Coles.